Lesson 3, calculating with fractions. Now, in our last lesson, we would have discussed a bit about calculating with fractions. So, we looked at the numerator and the denominator and how we put it into the calculator, right? So we examined a little bit about calculating with fractions, but now we are actually going to get into the nitty-gritty of how we calculate with fractions. Now, looking at addition and subtraction, which is different from multiplication and division of fractions. In order to add or subtract fractions, the denominators must be the same. The denominators must be the same. And hopefully, you are well acquainted with the different parts of the fraction. If not, a fraction is like this. For example, 3/4 is 3/4. The top number is called the numerator. The vinculum is the little dash, and it means to divide. And the bottom number is called the denominator, just in case you were not aware. So when we say the denominators must be the same, we are talking about the bottom numbers. All the bottom numbers must be the same. Now, if they are different, so we're saying that they must be the same in order to add. So I could add 1/4 plus 3/4 because the denominators are the same, or minus, right? But if we have different denominators, we have 1/4 plus 3/8. These two denominators are not the same. They are different. Now, we have to make these denominators the same by finding a common number or a common multiple of these two numbers through the LCM. So let's look at this example, 1/4 plus 3/8. What is a common multiple of the 4 and the 8, the denominators? So the multiples of 4 are 1/4 is 4, 2/4, 8, 3/4, 12, 4/4, 16, 5/4, 20. All right, so those are the first 5 multiples of 4. The first 5 multiples of 8, 1/8 is 8, 2/8 is 16, 3/8 is 24, 4/8 is 32, and 5/8 is 40. Now, we are looking for the LCM, or the lowest common multiple. If we find a higher multiple, things will get a little more difficult. So we're looking for the lowest one, right? So 4 is the first one here. It doesn't have 4 in here. But the second multiple of 4, which is 8, is the same as the first multiple of 8, which is 8. So the lowest common multiple between 4 and 8 is 8. So, which simply means in this equation, we are trying to make the denominators both equal to 8. Now, in order to do that, we have to multiply 4 by 2. 4 2s are 8, right? And we don't have to do anything with the 8 because it's already 8. 8 by 1 is 8, right? Now, we can't just multiply the denominators just like that. It has to be the same fraction or an equivalent fraction. So if we multiply this 4 by 2, in order for it to still be 1/4, we also have to multiply the numerator by 2. Whatever we do on the bottom, we must do on top. We didn't do anything here, 3/1. So 8/1, 3/1. So the new sum, 1/2 is 2. 4 2s are 8. So 2/8, if you think about it, is the same thing as saying 1/4, right? Because it's not reduced, meaning that I could divide 2 by 2 and 8 by 2 and get a quarter, right? It's not reduced. So 2 over 8 plus 3 over 8 is our new question. And of course, we could just add our numerators. 3 plus 2 is 5. And we keep the denominator. So a quarter plus 3/8 is equal to 5/8. And that is how we add. And if we had a subtract sign there, we could subtract fractions. So they must have the same denominator. So another thing that you need to know is how to express a whole number as a fraction. So to do that, we place it over 1, meaning 1 is now the denominator and the whole number is the numerator. So for example, 5 would be 5 over 1. That is important because if we have like whole numbers mixed up with fractions, it's going to get kind of difficult to see how to add them, right? But once we change it in the fraction form, then we could ensure that our denominators are the same, etc., right? So that is the first part of our lesson today. Now, let's look at example 4. Example 4. And it simply says, work out 2/3 plus a half and 7/8 minus 3/4. So let's go into our working page here. And A had asked us to do 2/3 plus 1/2. We recognize that our denominators are different. So we have to find the LCM. The LCM here would be 6. So to get 6 here, I must multiply here by 2. And you can go through the whole laying out of the multiples to see that the lowest common multiple here is 6. So if I multiply here by 2, I'm putting 6 because 6 is in common in these two, right? To get 6, I must multiply this denominator by 2. So I must also multiply the numerator by 2. So 2 2s are 4. Plus, in order to get 6 in this denominator, I must multiply it by 3. So I'm also going to multiply the top by 3. So I get 7 over 6. Now this is what you call an improper fraction. And it's best that you change all your improper fractions to mixed numbers, right? And I'll show you how I do that. Now, 7 divided by 6 can do so one time. 1 6 is 6. So this could happen once, so I get 1. And the remainder, so 7 minus 6, the remainder is 1. So the remainder we put as the numerator of the fraction next to the whole number in this mixed number, 1, and it's out of 6, remainder 1 out of 6. So that's how I get 1 and 1/6 as my answer there. B asked us to find 7 over 8 minus, so we're doing a subtraction, 3 over 4. And again, in this case, our denominators are different. And the lowest common multiple here is 8, right? So I don't have to do anything to this denominator. So I don't have to do anything with the numerator. It remains as 7. But to get 8 here, I must multiply by 2. So I multiply the top by 2 as well. 3 2s are 6. 7 minus 6 is 1 over 8. So the answer I get is 1/8. Right? So just a reminder, everything that you do on the bottom, you must do on top to maintain the integrity of the fraction and to keep it as the same fraction. Right. Following our notes again, we are looking at expressing improper fractions. So there are different types of fractions. 3 types of fractions to be exact. We have proper fractions, improper fractions, and mixed numbers. So Proper fractions are so called because we don't have to do anything else with them. So proper fractions occur when the numerator, from example 2 over 5 is a proper fraction. The numerator is smaller or less than the denominator. That's a proper fraction. An improper fraction, and you guessed it, I'm sure, because if a proper fraction occurs when the numerator is smaller or less than the denominator, then an improper fraction would be when the numerator is more than the denominator. And I hope you're taking these little extra notes because they are not in the notes I've provided, right? And a mixed number or mixed numbers look like this. So I'm going to change this to a mixed number. Mixed number, you have a whole number and a fraction. So mixed number is a whole number with a proper fraction. It's not an improper fraction next to it. A whole number with a proper fraction is a mixed number. That is when you have a remainder, right? A mixed number occurs when you have a remainder. Also, improper fractions, well, usually when you have a remainder, but you could have something like 6 over 2, which can be reduced to 3. So an improper fraction would have a remainder if it cannot be reduced, right? So improper fractions and mixed numbers usually indicate that there's a remainder, right? A remainder from a whole number, that is. Good. So those are the different types of fractions. Now, when you are laying out your work for exams, it's always best to change your improper fractions into mixed numbers, right? Always change your improper fractions into mixed numbers. So let's look at that. To do this, you simply divide the numerator by the denominator. 7 divided by 4. That could happen one time. So that gives you the whole number, and the remainder is placed over the denominator. So 1/4 is 4, and the remainder is 3, right? So the proper fraction next to this whole number for your mixed number would be 1 and 3 over 4. That's 1 remainder, 3. And you also have to know how to do the opposite, because I would advocate, I know people do things differently, where they calculate addition and subtraction and multiplication and so on using their mixed numbers. I find that method to be quite confusing. I always advocate to change everything into an improper fraction in order to do the work, right? So to change your mixed numbers into improper fractions when doing calculations, this is how it's done. Now, it's a little wrong, the rules. We know that the denominator is going to be 3, right? In this case, for 3 1/3. We know that the denominator is going to be 3. So we can put the 3 as our denominator one time. So the first thing to do is multiply the denominator by the whole number, right? So 3 3s are 9, and the result we add. So you see, you're just going in a clockwise direction. Multiply, 3 3s are 9, the result, excuse me, you add. So 3 3s are 9, plus 1 is 10. And that's how you change a mixed number into an improper fraction. So feel free to ask any questions in the comments below, and I would reach out to you as best as possible.